between the poorest and richest countries in the world.
Irrespective of who you're referring to.
전 세계적으로 불확실성이 극대화되는 요즘입니다. 이 속에서 세계는 그리고 우리는 어떤 길을 찾을 수 있을까요? 오늘 아주 특별한 시간을 마련했습니다. 2024년 노벨 경제학상 수상자 제임스 로빈슨 교수 함께하고 있습니다. Professor James Robinson, welcome to our show.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. Thank you for joining us today. 네, 어느 나라나 잘 사는 나라를 목표로 할 텐데요. 그 조건이 굉장히 궁금해집니다. 저희가 지금 스튜디오에 사진 한 장을 마련해 봤습니다. 같이 보시면 이것이 한반도 위성 사진이거든요.
Yeah, I mean, we use this in the book because we think it shows in such a visceral way, you know, the differences between poor and rich countries, and we use that as an example, you know, of how a country like South Korea prospers because it adopts inclusive institutions that create broad-based patterns of incentives and opportunities, and North Korea is impoverished by the opposite, which is extractive economic institutions.
네, 네, 그렇습니다.
근데 저희 대화를 듣는 시청자분들께서는 좀 이런 생각을 하실 수 있을 것 같아요. 교수님의 이론적인 틀로서 중국의 부상을 어떻게 설명할 수 있을까? 왜냐하면 중국은 일당 독재 체제이지 않습니까? 그럼에도 놀라운 성장을 이뤄냈고 그리고 지금 G2 반열에 올라섰습니다. How can you account for China's rise within your theoretical framework?
But I think, you know, I think China, the idea that to prosper you have to move to inclusive economic institutions exactly fits China. You know, the transition after 1978 is exactly the abandonment of socialism, the abandonment of communal agriculture, you know, privatization of incentives, freeing markets, prices, you know. So that's not about the genius of the Communist Party. That's about allowing Chinese people to do their thing. Same way in South Korea, you know, under the dictatorship of President Park Chung-hee, there was very rapid economic growth and economic transformation. But that would never have been sustained had it not been for the transition to more inclusive political institutions.
I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary, because tariffs are going to make us rich as hell. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. In other words, they charge us, we charge them less, so how can anybody be upset?
Use the opportunity, Mr. President, to hand you a gift.
This is really a political execution that they're trying to do with Bolsonaro. I think that's terrible.
दुनिया के अनेक देशों के नागरिकों को व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं।
नहीं चलेगा, नहीं चलेगा, नहीं चलेगा। टैरिफ को वापस लो।
네, 그야말로 격변의 2025년이 아닐까 싶습니다. 기존의 수많은 국제 규범이며 기구들이 유명무실해진 그런 시점이 아닌가 싶어요.
트럼프 대통령이 공약했던 것처럼 미국의 보호주의를 이렇게 강화하는 일련의 정책들을 계속 펼쳐왔고
네.
그로 인해서 관세가 인상되고
그렇죠.
여기에 대해서 많은 나라들이 굉장히 곤혹스러워하고 있죠. 한국 경제에 굉장히 큰 위협으로 지금 다가오고 있어서 이러한 그 WTO 체제의 붕괴 그리고 자유무역의 후퇴 이런 것들이 큰 걱정을 지금 가져오고 있습니다.
네, 2차 대전 이후의 국제 질서 때문에 이 강대국 간의 전면 전쟁, 그러니까 3차 세계 대전을 예방할 수 있었고 인류는 정말 엄청난 경제적인 번영을 누릴 수 있었습니다. 이런 게 정말 가능했었던 이유는 미국의 패권적인 지위 때문에 가능했다고 생각하는데
네네.
미국은 더 이상 이런 어떤 국제 공공재를 제공할 의지가 없는 것으로 보입니다. 오히려 동맹 국가들에게 굉장히 좀 못되게 굴고 있는 그런 모습을 보고 있는데 How do you foresee the future of international international order and the role of the United States within that order?
Yes. You know, the world has prospered and even America has prospered, but not the average American. Actually, the average American's wages are lower now in real terms than they were 50 years ago, especially people who don't have a college education, which is the majority of the population. So the problem has come from the collapse of shared prosperity in the United States. I think the Americans have always thought about the rules in terms of what's in our interest. I think they thought that the previous system was in their interest, and now it's not in their interest anymore, so let's design something else. I don't think they really have a new architecture to replace the old system. And I honestly, you know, I think the real problem to solve is the domestic political economy. And how do you recreate shared prosperity within the United States?
Basically, what you're saying is, unlike the predictions laid out by these economists, trickle-down effect didn't really take place, and rich got richer and poor got poorer. Is that how you assess political situation in the United States?
That's the fact, well established by many labor economists. And yes, and that's the real problem that has to be dealt with, I think.
관세 얘기도 좀 여쭤보고 싶거든요. I would like to ask you a question about Trump administration's tariff policy.
I'm not sure that, you know, President Trump thinks of tariffs as a tool of statecraft. I'm not sure he really thinks of it as a purely economic policy. He thinks of it as much more than that. I think he loves tariffs because he can control that without negotiating with the Congress, without, you know, so he has a lot of discretion over that, so he likes that. He can get on with it. That's what's got us into this mess, by the way. You know, thinking of the economy as disconnected from politics and society. And I think, you know, it will become more and more evident that those policies are not good for the economy and they're not going to be good for his constituents. And I think he will change that. I think he will.
He will change it. 기존의 세계 질서가 바뀔 때 우리나라 역시 영향을 받지 않을 수가 없는데요. 이제 우리나라 이야기를 해봐야 할 것 같습니다. 현재 한국 사회가 당면한 문제는 어떤 것들이라고 생각하세요?
경제적으로 보면은 아무래도 저성장 문제가 가장 크지 않을까 합니다. 지금 올해 0.8% 성장을 지금 예측할 정도로 경기가 안 좋아지는 것이 큰 문제인데 미국의 그러한 보호무역 정책에 의해서 또 많은 영향을 받고 있다는 것이 큰 우려를 불러일으키는 부분이 아닐까 합니다.
I was at a conference in Cambridge in England in June, and I walked down the high street in Cambridge, and I saw Korean barbecue restaurant. I saw, you know, K-beauty, amazing. You know, and the you know, my dermatologist at the University of Chicago Medical School.
Dermatologist.
He tells everybody Korean creams, Korean cosmetics, they better stop buying American ones, buy Korean ones. So I understand there's challenges, you know, in Korea. You know, there's this perception that they got behind with artificial intelligence and, you know, but the Koreans have been behind before and they caught up, you know. Taking K-pop, you know, everyone has perfect skin and turning that into a cosmetics industry, that's genius, you know, seeing that opportunity and spreading that everywhere, you know. Like, I think Korea is a cultural phenomenon in the same way that the United States was. You know, they had John Wayne and Marlboro cigarettes and cowboys and blue jeans. But that was incredibly important for the economic success of the United States. You know, its addiction to Hollywood. Who cares about Hollywood? They just make Superman movies now. You know, all the creativity.
I'm the Superman generation.
The creativity has disappeared.
이것도 궁금한데요. 최근 교수님께서 하신 이제 인터뷰 가운데 이런 내용이 있었습니다. 한국인들의 불만이 미래를 위한 동력으로 작용한다라는 얘기를 하셨더라고요. 이게 어떤 의미인지 궁금하거든요.
You know, we don't understand too well motivation, you know, and you know, people's motivation and what drives societies and how Korea has thrived, you know, in such adverse circumstances, like such an adverse context, you know, with how far are we from the demilitarized zone? You know, I read the biography of the founder of Hyundai, and twice the North Koreans invaded. They trashed his factory. He had to run to the south with a suitcase and his family, and he got back up. Something here, there's some kind of grit, you know, in Korea. There's some sort of like, we don't quit. Koreans don't quit, and I like that.
이제 끝으로 질문을 드릴까 합니다. 전 세계 시청자들에게 꼭 전하고 싶으신 메시지가 있으시다면 지금 말씀해 주시면 좋을 것 같아요.
I think for me, Korea is like a role model. You know, it's a role model for any poor country. Like, I was once in Mexico, and I gave a lecture to the Senate, the Mexican Senate, and then I had a meeting with a dinner with these Mexican businessmen, and they all talked about Korea the whole time. Like,
Really?
if only we could be like Korea, like we Mexicans. Let's learn what really happened here and how you did it, and how can other people learn from that to transform their societies.
노벨 경제학자의 시선으로 바라본 세계의 오늘과 미래. 짧은 시간이었지만 많은 시사점을 던져준 시간이었던 것 같습니다.